innate ability, will be more successful. So whatever names chairman has quoted, Abdul Kalam or so many scientists, I think they have figured out what is there in them, and then they have aspired to achieve something relating to that. Wherever that alignment happened, people have been successful. Then next is, when we look at aspiration, 90% of the students coming for engineering are all driven by parental aspiration or peer group influence. So unless otherwise they understand why I am studying, what I want to do is very important. Here I like to quote one example. 2 years back, Visvesvaraya Technical University in Bangalore in Karnataka, which is equivalent to Anna University. In the first year, 30,000 students failed. They went to the court, High Court of Karnataka. The High Court given a ruling. They wanted supplementary exams to be conducted. Court said no. They said, don't join engineering if you don't have aptitude. Don't join engineering for pleasing parents or because of the peers. Take only if you have the aptitude. That is, one is coming to engineering. Again, coming to each branch, coming to each role. Suppose if I want to be in design, what are the innate abilities? If I want to be in shop floor managing people or selling the bikes. So each one requires very different type of innate abilities. So you have to figure out what it is. Next is the engagement. So many people, when they don't have aspiration, they simply attend class. How do we people do assignments? Few students do assignments, others copy it, right? So then are we going to gain learning from that? So like this we can see how we engage ourselves. One more example of aspiration. Suppose when you go out of the campus in the evening, if you know whether you are going to Satyamangalam or to Mettur, you know which side of the road you have to stand, right? Then you know which bus to look for. So then these are all engagement. Then innate ability, there are traits, motive and attitude. These are all very important. Coming to learning skills. One more thing which I like to show is, suppose if you take this glass, even to specify the quality of this glass, there are multiple dimensions, at least 4 or 5 dimensions we have to specify. Look at a human being who are much more complex than this. In the academic system, how many dimensions we have? Only one dimension. Rote memory is the only dimension. How the Anna University admission happens? So we need to look at multiple dimensions for doing this. Then once we align this, then we can see how to learn it. Learning skills. How do we acquire the learning skills through education and practice? Where can we learn swimming? In the classroom? In the pool, right? Where can we learn engineering? Is in the classroom? We can learn part of it in the classroom, but engineering has to be learned through practice. The lab, the kind of tutorial, then the internship, the projects, these are all very important for engineering. So many times I notice the so-called engineering graduates, when they go home, the water leaks in the tap, they call the plumber. Some electrical gadgets doesn't work, we call the electrician. So how can you become engineer who can do things in your own home? That's very important. And also one more thing, in the school, there is a difference between teaching and learning. And when we look at school, we are all taught. I am told, kids and pets are taught or trained. Adults have to learn. I think by the time we come to college, we have become adults, right? We are also voting, right? So we have to learn. How do we transition from school to college, from teaching to learning? So I think teachers have to become learning facilitators than being a teacher. So how do we transition this? I think it's very important. And one of the role model I look at for learning is Ekalavya. What did he do? The teacher refused to teach him. So he made the statue of the teacher and he learned and he has become better than the best student of the guru, right? So Ekalavya is a very good example of learning. So we need to take ownership for learning. And when we see the library, so how do we make use of the excellent facility created? And there are also different cognitive dimensions. How do we learn also? There are scientific processes. There are cognitive dimensions of learning. It starts with remember. First know whatever knowledge given to us we remember. Then we understand. Then we apply. Then we analyze the results that are coming out of application. Then we evaluate. If we apply two different ways, which is better, we can analyze, evaluate, and then we can create some new things. Whatever invention Chairman has talked about is about creating. We can create a lot of things. So this is very important. So in the most people coming from state board, 100% are remember. That's a problem. So how do we reorient? We need some bridge course. I suggest we can look at some bridge course to transition from remember to understand and apply. CBSE 70% of the questions are meant for understand and apply. In the colleges where we have collaborative program, we have a 3-semester bridge course to make them understand and apply science. Because engineering is nothing but applied science or mathematics. And 30-40% of the students, even in Tamil Nadu, most colleges, including premier colleges, they get arrears. If you look at the courses where they get arrears, they are all relating to physics, mathematics. So their foundation from school is weak. And sometimes what happens, student side, if you are weak in some area, the first year you have to work hard to make sure that you overcome some of the limitations. Many times now we see people enjoying, we also want to follow. How do we really look at? So there is no gain without pain. Another thing is, in engineering in 4 years, we study about 40 courses, right? Suppose you want sabji. Suppose I put all the ingredients of the sabji in a bowl and then say this is sabji, will you accept it? We need to have a recipe to mix, grind something, fry something, then mix everything, all that. Same way, 40 courses need to be synthesized to practice engineering. So is there a process in the academic system to synthesize? Suppose in the first year, if I am studying physics and chemistry, I understand the materials, then chemical composition of material decides the physical properties. Then I have to understand how to combine physics and chemistry in material science. Then if the carbon is low, then it is low carbon still, then it becomes ductile, then the choice of manufacturing process is different. So then how do we synthesize different courses throughout the year? I think that's very important. So internships are very useful. It need not be in big companies. Even you can go to the very small garage next door. Then you learn from it. Then one more challenge in engineering education is over 50% of engineers pass out of our engineering colleges are not employable because they lack some soft skills. It is not enough if we know engineering. We should know how to communicate. We should know how to maintain our health, how to have ethics and values. In fact, Vivekananda, there are many people, they say that character is very important in education. How do we build character? When you talk about WHO definition of health, it says physical, mental, social well-being, and does not mean absence of illness. That's the definition of WHO. How do you develop your well-being on physical, mental, and social dimensions? Then how do we become a responsible citizens? The grooming is important. How do we dress? How do we conduct ourselves? Etiquettes are important. Upkeep of rooms. If you look at, come to corporate, we now produce PPM quality. PPM means parts per million. There are 6 zeros. Earlier it used to be measured in percentage, only 2 zeros. Look at the 4 more zeros. Producing that cannot happen unless we have orderliness, cleanliness in the factory. Even we look at the contamination in the engine in micrograms, or that's the kind of dust levels we are looking at. If you don't keep your rooms in the hostel, if you don't keep your labs in order, suddenly in the corporate you cannot adapt to a new environment. That is important. Communication, interpersonal skills, and how to learn. Learning ability is another important. Actively learning and practicing, and planning and working to time. So how do we, assignments are there, CAT tests are there. We have to balance between academic, curricular, co-curricular. How do we manage your time? How do you plan your time? That's very important. So you have to balance between curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular, because all of them are important, right? So you are fortunate to have born in India now with abundant opportunities. When I did my engineering, only 1,700 seats were there in 7 engineering colleges. Today there are more than 500 colleges offering close to 2 lakh seats. But at that time, our placement used to be only 20-30% used to get placed in the campus. Today, many good colleges have close to 100%. So you are very fortunate. But how do we make use of this opportunity? When we get engineers from any college today, it takes 2 to 3 years to get them fully ready for the role.